The tradition of Vedanta class is to start it by chanting the invocatory prayer. And this invocation is chanted by both the teacher and the students. So together, if we chant, it has the best impact. Obviously, you don't need to unmute. You can all be muted. Otherwise, it'll be too much of noise. You can all be muted, but chant in your own room, in your own house. Om. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavid Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. There is a urgent need to set right an imbalance in the world. And the imbalance that I'm talking about is not the imbalance between rich and poor. That's not the imbalance we're talking about. But the imbalance, which is even more important than that, is between you and the world. See, if you examine carefully anyone's experience, you go to school, you understand, a youngster goes to school. So, as far as if I ask you what your experiences are, you will say, oh, I go to school. So, I'm saying, see, you go to school, you go to university, you go to work, you spend time with your family. I'm just listing the various experiences. Each one's experiences are different. You go and have a drink with your mates, you play a game of rugby, you watch television, you go to a restaurant, etc., etc. There's very many experiences, but all these experiences, there is one common factor. You go to school, you go to university, you go to work, you be with your family, you is recurring all the time. The constant factor in all your experiences is you. And yet, when you are asked and you want to change things, what do? You try and change what you're contacting. The parents try and select the best school for the child. If that school doesn't work, they change the school. You select the best house. If that house doesn't work, you want to change the house. The best parents, unfortunately, you don't have a choice. Whatever parents you have, you're stuck with it. Huh? So there are certain things which you want to change. You say, it's not working, it's not working, it's not working. But hardly anybody thinks and analyzes why is it not working. They believe it is to do with the external factors, but they don't think of the constant factor. The constant factor in all the experiences is you. And unless you are changed, the balance is not right. So today, you are improving everything externally, making sure you have the best of schools, best of universities, best of furniture, best of homes, best of cars, best technology, best medical drugs and attention. Everything externally is best, 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 best. But this you is not improved. The you is not developed. That is the imbalance. Imbalance is the world is being improved, but the individual is not being attended to at all. The maximum thing that anybody does is go to a gym, look at the physical body. That's all. That is a whole concept of self development. Today is just that, or a little bit of yoga, a little bit of meditation they do. But that is not true self development. What is true self development? The true self development is the improvement of your inner personality. Last week, I explained the difference between the mind and the intellect. It is the mind and intellect that has to be rehabilitated, not the physical body. The physical body is only a vehicle, is only a container. All the attention is upon either the world or your physical body, and none of these factors will help you. There is this imbalance, and that imbalance is causing the friction with the world. There are people who have excellent physical bodies, who have excellent environments, and yet they are miserable. They are unhappy. And what is everybody trying to do? Is everybody is trying to get to that state? They want to be rich. They want to have everything external, have fit bodies. And then what? So, merely changing the external factors won't help. Of course, you've got to maintain the body. Of course, you've got to be financially self sufficient. But more important than all that is the inner personality which has to be developed. When that inner personality is developed and then you contact the improved world, then there is what we call a synergy. Synergy is when both elements combine and the effect is greater than the sum of its parts. So, when there is a synergy between you and the world, there is tremendous dynamism in your actions. There is tremendous joy in your mind because there is a synergy. But today there is no synergy, there's an imbalance because the inner personality of the individual is not developed. So, to sort out the mental health, you have to directly look at the inner personality, strengthen your intellect, and control the mind. What is the solution to mental health? Is to develop that intellect, strengthen that intellect within you, and automatically, when the intellect is developed, it will control the mind. But today, you have given power to the world. Because of ignorance, you've given power to the world, and the world is tormenting you. You're at the mercy of the world. Whatever happens to the world affects you. See, that's why in in the ancient times they gave out philosophy. So philosophy is meant to set right this imbalance. When you construct a building, the main aspect in the building is the foundation. The foundation is first built and then the structure comes upon it. The proportion, the ratio that is used is zero point 0.2 times the structure's height. So whatever is the height of the structure, zero point 0.2 times is the height of the foundation. So for tall buildings, the foundation itself is quite big, quite thick, and the foundation costs almost 10% of the cost of the building. So suppose people were to come and ask you, sir, this is the cost, this is the ratio, you will say, I cut it by half. Foundation cut it by half. So much were you spending. So thick, why do you need? And what happens? The whole thing crumbles. It's a matter of time before the whole thing comes down. That's exactly what people are doing in the world. What self development? I'm all right. I'm okay. We don't need self development. I'm okay. I'm okay. You go, okay, okay, okay. And then you reach a point when you can't manage, you collapse. And that's what happened to Arjuna in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. A great warrior could not face the challenge. He crumbled. So it can happen to anyone. The potential is there. You've got to make sure you strengthen yourself to avoid any future mishaps, any future problems. The Vedanta is a philosophy that is comparable to science in as much as both science and Vedanta consists of laws. And these laws have existed even before they were discovered. Gravity existed before Newton discovered it. Kepler's laws existed before he discovered it. Archimedes' principle existed before he discovered it. You know what Archimedes' principle is? Any object, when you submerge it in a fluid, it experiences an upward buoyant force equal to the weight of the fluid it displaces. That's why a piece of wood floats, a piece of stone sinks in water because of Archimedes' principle. But before Archimedes' principle came out, the principle was still there in the world. It's not that only after Archimedes came, the wood started floating, the stone started sinking. It's not like that. So these laws are there in the world from time immemorial. Great thinkers came and they discovered these laws. So the laws in the external world is science. The laws in the internal world is Vedanta. What are the laws happening within you? From the base of philosophy came out religions. Now, how did these religions come out? Religions came out when the prophets they picked up one aspect of the philosophy and gave it to a particular group at a particular time at a particular place. Christ spoke, gave the famous Sermon on the Mount. Prophet Muhammad spoke to the Bedouins in the desert. Krishna spoke to Arjuna in the battlefield. The time and place and the person whom they were talking to were all different. Buddha spoke to his followers. And each of these prophets, whatever they spoke, the followers picked that up and made it into a religion. And today, religion is the R word. So, first of all, whenever people come to Vedanta, first question they ask is, "Oh, is Vedanta religion?" It's a R word, it's a terrible word. Oh, religion is a terrible word. So, Vedanta is not a religion, Vedanta is a philosophy. What is the difference between religion and philosophy? The difference is religion is based on faith, whereas philosophy is based on knowledge. A religion is based on the devotion that you have towards that prophet who has founded the religion. It is based on that book. You should be devoted to that. So it's based on faith. And when these prophets spoke, they spoke to a particular group of people. Whereas philosophy is has a universal applicability. It is not meant for a particular group of people. It is meant for people at all periods of time, all over the world, no matter what your background is. Religion is based on a personality. You take away that personality, there is no religion. You take away Christ, there's no Christianity. You take away Prophet Muhammad, there's no Islam. You take away Buddha, there's no Buddhism. But in Vedanta, you can take away as many sages as you want. Vedanta still exists. It is based on time tested truths. So religion is limited to time and place. Vedanta is timeless. So these are the differences. See that. What is the difference between religion and philosophy? Religion based on faith, philosophy based on knowledge. Religion caters to a particular group of people who are devoted to that particular prophet. Whereas philosophy, you don't have to be devoted to any prophet. Therefore, it has universal applicability. Religion is based on the personality. Philosophy is based on truths, not personalities. Religion based on time and a place. Philosophy is timeless. Religion without philosophy is like a rose without fragrance. The essence of religion is philosophy, but today no religion teaches you the philosophy. As a result, people are following religion blindly. There's a blind following. See, what is religion today, the way it is practiced? It is mechanical rituals, it is blind beliefs, it is superstitious fears. The problem is not with religion, the problem is in the way that it is being practiced because of the lack of philosophy. So there's an abuse of religion happening today. When you go to religious heads, they'll tell you, listen, you just need to chant the name of the Lord. That's enough. Nothing else you need to do. There is no effort required. There's a lack of effort in religion. Effort is not encouraged. Similarly, you're asked to perform certain rituals out of superstition, out of fear. And the real purpose of religion is to make you spiritually evolve. To spiritually evolve, you have to reduce your selfishness. But what is religion doing today? You're going and asking God for fulfilling your desires. It is only increasing your selfishness. So, whatever religion is meant to do, it is doing the opposite today. You start with the meaning of the word religion. What is the meaning of the word religion? The meaning of the word religion means to join, to unite. Re ligare is the Latin root for religion. Re ligare means back again, join again, unite again. With what? With your own self that you have strayed away from, with your own self that you're ignorant of. You got to join back with that, unite back with that. All efforts you undertake to get back to the self within is a religion. That is the meaning of the word religion, not the way it is being practiced. In Sanskrit, the equivalent of the word religion is the word yoga. And yoga also is derived from the Sanskrit root yuj, which means to join, to unite. Exactly the same meaning as religion. And yuj also has another meaning, to concentrate. The path and the goal are both given in that word yoga. The path is to concentrate. The goal is to unite with the self within, with that divine principle within. In effect, whether you use the word religion or whether you use the word yoga, both mean the same. See that? Re ligare, back again, to join, to unite back, to join again. Exactly the same as yoga, to join, to unite. that separation from your own essential nature is causing all the problems. The ignorance of your own self. How to gain the knowledge of yourself? We are not talking about learning about somebody else or something else. Your own nature, your own essential self. Vedanta says that everyone is essentially divine, whether you are a saint or a sinner. You can take the worst of person in the world. You don't have to name them. You can take whatever worst person you want to think of in the world. That person has the self in him or her. Similarly, the best person, the most saintly person in the world, has the same self in her. It's called Atman in Sanskrit, that self principle within, that God principle within. You keep a brass vessel in your house, and after a few months of using it, it becomes black, it becomes tarnished with oxide. You go to the shop and you buy a new brass vessel. It is nice and shiny. What is the difference between that shiny brass vessel and this black tarnished brass vessel? It's just the coating of oxide. If you were to take a little bit of brasso and apply on this vessel that you have at home, and then you take a piece of cloth and rub it, all that black coating will come out. And then you take another clean piece of cloth and then rub it once more. What happens? You get that shine, the exact shine that you get in the brass vessel that you buy from a shop. You can't say the manufacturers may claim, oh, we have put shine into the vessel. The brasso manufacturers will say, oh, we have put shine into the vessel. But that's not true. They have not put shine into the vessel. What has brasso done is just remove the coating of oxide. The shine is inherent in the vessel. Similarly, the divinity is inherent in that person, but there is a wrong coating. And what is a wrong coating? The coating of ignorance. So the difference between a saint and a sinner is that the saint has the knowledge of the self, the sinner is ignorant of the self. But the Atman in both of them is the same. The God principle in both of them is the same. You can't blame God for the atrocities of the sinner. You can't praise God for the benevolence of the saint. The purpose of religion, the purpose of yoga is to discover that essential self in you, that divinity in you. The yoga is the goal as well as the path. So, what is the path? It is the path which is designed to help you navigate yourself through the worldly attachments and reach the divine self. And that divine self is a state of human perfection. Traditionally, there are 4 yogas that are given. In the scriptures, traditionally, 4 yogas are indicated. And we'll examine why 4. The first 3 yogas are directed to the 3 equipments that you have. You have a physical body, mind, and intellect. At the level of the body, you perform action. Now, how to discipline your actions is karma yoga. Karma yoga, the path of action, is a method by which you discipline the action and use the action as a vehicle to reach the supreme. At the level of the mind, the second equipment, the mind has got emotions, how to discipline the emotions. And once the emotions are disciplined, you use the emotions as a vehicle to reach the supreme. That is the path of devotion, bhakti yoga. And third is the intellect, where the thoughts are disciplined and you use the thoughts as a vehicle to reach the supreme. The path of knowledge, jnana yoga, karma yoga, bhakti yoga, jnana yoga. Three paths are directed to the three equipments. The fourth path is not a complete path by itself. The fourth path is meant for people who are indolent, who are in inertia, who are still not qualified for the first three paths. That's why the fourth path is the path of compulsion. You force the person to do certain practices, and one day that person suddenly asks, why are you asking me to do all these things? See, for example, the person is supposed to sleep on a bed of nails. They're supposed to walk on fire. They're supposed to stand on one leg. And then one day the person asks, why are you asking me to stand on one leg? You understand? Then the person starts thinking. When the person starts thinking, then you give knowledge. Then he gets into the path of knowledge. So this fourth path, which is the path of compulsion, is called Hatha Yoga. Today, Hatha Yoga is popularized as the yoga asanas and pranayama. But that is only one minute aspect of it. Hatha Yoga means the path of force, path of compulsion. So see that what are these four yogas? Karma Yoga, path of action; Bhakti Yoga, path of devotion; Jnana Yoga, path of knowledge; Hatha Yoga, path of compulsion. Everyone needs to do the first three. The fourth one, it depends upon your personality. It depends upon your nature. But hardly anybody makes an assessment of the nature. They just do whatever they like. Whatever their mind fancies, they go and pick it up and they do it. That's not how you do it. You got to examine and assess your personality and find out how emotional you are, how rational you are, how active you are. And based on that, you proportion the three yogas. So these yogas, or if religion is practiced in the right manner, it encourages, it inculcates a different way of thinking. The worldly way of thinking is different from the spiritual way of thinking. And what is the primary difference between these two? The worldly way of thinking is to be extroverted. The spiritual way of thinking is to be introverted. It's just this one word, introversion. If you can practice this introversion in the right way, I'm not exaggerating, all your present problems will be solved. It's not exaggeration, it's a fact. All the problems that you're experiencing today is because of an extroverted attitude. Now, what is this extroverted attitude? Extroverted attitude is the tendency to focus upon others, to blame others for your problems, to criticize others. An introverted person chooses to examine himself, herself. He doesn't worry about others. Let others be what they are. See, suppose you're driving on the road, you see another car which is violating the rules. Suddenly the fellow cuts into your lane and you get angry, you get agitated, you get stressed, you get worked up. How dare he does this? How will you do that? So what you understand is, okay, that person is violating the rules. Why should I get disturbed? Why should I get stressed? So if you're introverted, you understand the absurdity of it. What is the absurdity of it? Absurdity is you can't expect everybody to follow the rules. When a person drives, you can't expect everybody to follow the rules. There'll be some people who may not follow the rules. You get agitated not because of that person's wrong driving, it's because of your wrong expectation. So introversion helps you to identify the problem. And when you identify the problem, you get that peace of mind. The more you keep blaming others, the more you keep blaming the world, you will be stressed. You will never be peaceful. To be peaceful, you've got to change the focus of attention from the world to yourself. What am I doing? Okay, that person is what he is. Let him be. But why am I getting disturbed? Why am I getting agitated? So that shift in your thinking makes all the difference. Whether it is a noisy neighbor, whether it is a terrible boss, whether it is an uncooperative spouse, whether it is unruly children, it is all to do with your introverted attitude. If you have an introverted attitude, you can manage any situation. You can find peace and contentment wherever you are. This introverted attitude is highlighted in a delightful poem called The Turkey and the Ant. And in that poem, the poet highlights the absurdity of what the turkey is doing. See, what the turkey does is it starts eating ants. And according to the turkey, is the best food for the turkey. So it enjoys eating these ants and it is devouring thousands and thousands of ants for one meal. And as it is eating these ants, the turkey is complaining, look at these human beings. The human beings are killing us. They're slaughtering us for Christmas. They kill us for Thanksgiving. These human beings are gluttonous. And what is the turkey doing? He's gobbling and gobbling millions and millions of ants for a meal. So one ant goes beyond the reach of the turkey. An ant went beyond her reach and thus answered from a neighboring beech, from the beech tree. The ant is speaking to the turkey. And this is what the ant is telling the turkey. Ere you remark another sin, bid thy own conscience look within. Ere you remark another sin, bid thy own conscience look within. Control thy more voracious bill, nor for a breakfast nation's kill. You're blaming human beings for killing you. What about your actions? What are you doing? You're killing millions of ants for a meal. So before you remark another sin, find out what are you doing. Are you doing things correctly? Where are you going wrong? Examine yourself. So let's read that poem once, and then you will be able to remember it better. The Turkey and the Ant by John Gay. In other men we false can spy, and blame the mote that dims their eye. Each little speck and blemish find, to our own stronger errors blind. A turkey tired of common food forsook the barn and sought the wood. Behind her ran her infant train, collecting here and there a grain. So the turkey is moving out of the barn to seek for fresh food, a variety of food. Draw near, my birds, the mother cries, this hill delicious fare supplies. Behold the busy Negro race, see millions blacken all the place. So what the turkey has seen, it has seen ants, the black ants. So it's calling the young ones and says, come, 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 see these ants. Fear not, like me with freedom eat, an ant is most delightful meat. Fear not, like me with freedom eat, an ant is more delightful meat. The turkey is telling the young ones, eat as much as you want. And immediately after that, the turkey is complaining, how blessed, how envied were our life, could we but scape the poulterer's knife. But man cursed man on turkey praise, and Christmas shortens all our days. Sometimes with oysters we combine, sometimes us is the savory shine. Next. From the low peasant to the lord, the turkey smokes on every board. Sure, men for gluttony are cursed, of the 7 deadly sins the worst. The turkey is blaming the humans for being gluttonous. It says it's the worst of the 7 sins. And now the philosophical part comes. An ant, no, previous one. An ant who climbed beyond her reach, thus answered from the neighboring beach. Now, ere you remark another's sin, bid thy own conscience look within, control thy more voracious bill, not for a breakfast nation skill. See, even the first 2 lines, if you memorize, it'll help you. You remark another sin. Before you remark another sin, another's mistake, bid thy own conscience look within. Where am I going wrong? Because if you are doing everything right, the test of that is you will be happy, you will be contented. The test of your right action, the test of your right attitude is that personal happiness and contentment. So that introverted way of thinking is inculcated through the scriptures, through the practice of the yogas. So if you examine carefully, there is ignorance rampant in the world. But what is worse than ignorance? Ignorance itself is pretty bad. But what is worse than ignorance? It is lack of awareness of your ignorance. So it's not just that people are ignorant, but people are unaware that they are ignorant. Ignorance of your ignorance. How can you help a person who is unaware of their ignorance? You can't help that person. That's called the state of tamas, the state of mind, which is oblivious to ignorance, is called tamas. And you can't help a person who is in a tamasic state of mind, because the person who's in that state believes they know everything. They know it all. So how can you give knowledge? See, it's like, suppose you have a disease within you. It could be a tumor, it could be cancer you have within, and you don't know. You're going about your life blissfully unaware. And then you go for a checkup, and the doctor discovers that and says, you've got something there. I think we need to examine it further. So until then, you were blissfully unaware. But now the doctor has indicated it. So that's what is happening. So scriptures are pointing out, this is what is going wrong within you. Because you're blissfully unaware, you say, I don't care. I don't care. So you've got to become aware of ignorance. The first step to gaining knowledge is to become aware of ignorance. Unfortunately, the only way that people become aware of ignorance is when they start suffering. We are not wishing that upon people, but I'm just examining it. If you examine carefully, even physically, some of them don't do anything about the physical body. When do they start doing anything about the physical body? When the doctor tells them they got high blood pressure, they got blood sugar, they got this problem, that problem. Only then they start attending to themselves, physically also. So if you take action to set right your personality, then you won't get these problems. But if you wait for problems to act, then it's a serious condition you're in. So the religion today is meant to give this knowledge, is meant to educate people on these realities. But people don't follow these religions in the right way. They fix themselves onto personalities. Not only in religion, in any part of life today, there is reliance on personalities. Whether it is social media, whether it is politics, whether it is even this field of science, everywhere is based on personalities. and people parrot the views and opinions of these personalities. They get attached to these personalities and they parrot the views and opinions. These social media influencers have become so powerful. People who have podcasts have become so powerful. So, how have they become powerful? Because people are latching on to them and then parroting their ideas. Mechanical thinking, no application of your own intellect. So, religion also does the same thing, is it imposes do's and don'ts upon people. Do this, don't do this. Thou shalt, thou shalt not. And the more do's and don'ts are forced, it doesn't work. Even when parents force the children to follow certain principles, it doesn't work. The children rebel. Similarly, the youth, that's what you find in different parts of the world. There's rebellions because they're being forced to do certain things. What is forced is never forceful. What is forced is never forceful. Do's and don'ts are not meant for human beings. They're meant for other creatures. Because other creatures don't have an intellect. Human beings have an intellect. You've got to educate the intellect. You've got to give reason and guide people through reason. Interestingly, when it comes to your own personality, when you force yourself not to do something, the mind wants to do that. The day you decide, no, 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 I think I should stop having too much sugar, that's when the mind wants more sugar. You understand? So the nature of the mind is when you start forcing it, it increases the desire. So desire increases with restriction and prohibition. And the same do's and don'ts which are encouraged in religious circles, they bring about a rigidity in religion. And it is destroying the very fabric of religion. So religion is meant to encourage people to think independently, to question, to come to their own conclusions. A futurist who made a brilliant remark, his name is Alvin Toffler. He remarked that the illiterate of the 21st century, he said, the illiterate of the 21st century is not one who cannot read and write, but he is one who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. He puts it beautifully. Because today is the age of knowledge, is the age of information. There's so much of information that is available from different sources. So he says, illiterate is not one who cannot read and write. Primarily, everybody can read and write. So he says, but illiterate is one who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. So you learn something, you understand it's not the right thing, you should be able to unlearn it and then relearn the right thing. So that constant effort to keep learning, to keep questioning, to keep thinking. See that quotation. He's talking about the condition of the world today. There's illiteracy in the world. And what is the illiteracy? He says those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. Every day, the moment you wake up, the first thing that you need to think about is, can I approach this day in a better way? Anytime you meet a person, you think, can I relate to this person in a better way today? It could be the same person you've been relating for the last 30 years, 40 years, doesn't matter. Is what we call as taking fresh measurements. Start taking fresh measurements with the world. Don't go by the past measurements that you've taken, because people change, environments change. In fact, your own mind changes. So if you apply that introverted attitude, you will start taking fresh measurements. George Bernard Shaw humorously remarked, the most intelligent person he met in his life was his tailor, because he took fresh measurements every time he went to him. So that ability to look at things afresh. Religion is not blind faith. In fact, faith should not be blind. Faith should be based on reason. It is reasoned faith, not blind faith. But because people are following religion blindly, they wrongly believe that faith should be blind. They are mechanically following practices which they don't even understand what they're doing. Buddha had remarked almost 2,500 years ago, he remarked that don't follow anything on faith. And see that on the screen, the great words of Buddha. Buddha cautioned humanity over 2,500 years ago on the important role of reason in human life. And look at the statements he's making. He says, do not believe what you have heard. Just because you hear something, he says, don't believe it. Don't just blindly follow that. Do not believe in tradition because it is handed down many generations. Some traditions could be wrong. So don't follow traditions just because it's coming from the past. Do not believe in anything that has been spoken of many times. Like in WhatsApp, is being forwarded many times. He says, don't believe that has been spoken of many times. Do not believe because the written statements come from some old sage. Just because somebody old has given it doesn't mean it's right. That could be senile, that person. So do not believe in conjecture. Do not believe in authority or teachers or elders. So just because the person in power says it, it's not right. It may not be right. See, then the interesting part comes, the last two lines. He says, but after careful observation and analysis, when it agrees with reason and will benefit one and all, then accept it and live by it. So what he's saying is, don't believe blindly, but use reason. When you use reason and then you accept it, then follow it. So what is the difference? The difference is you've got to filter it through reason. Use the filter of reason. In fact, you can't live life without faith. You need faith. Without faith, you can't live your life. In fact, even when you come to this class, you're coming on faith. The newcomers, first time if you're coming to this class, you're coming on faith. You don't know what you're going to get, but you believe I'll get good thoughts, good knowledge. But once you stay with this class for a few weeks, a few months, then you know exactly what is being communicated. Thereafter, you don't need faith because you have knowledge. So knowledge displaces faith. You start with faith, you end with knowledge. When you start any venture, any project with faith. But gradually you gain knowledge, and that knowledge substitutes faith. You don't need to have faith thereafter because you know it now. But the problem with religion is people follow it just with faith. They don't gain any knowledge. So you have to start with faith, but you've got to move on to religion. I'm sorry, knowledge. You've got to step up to knowledge. The same virus of personality attachment comes in the spiritual path as well. People follow gurus, people follow swamis based on their personality. So, one of the principles that Vedanta advises is do not allow the personality and life of a spiritual master to interfere with his teachings. In other words, when you pick up a book, don't look at the life history of the teacher. Just find out whether that knowledge given in that book makes sense. If it makes sense, read the book. Apply that knowledge in your life. It doesn't matter what is the life history of that person. So do not mix the personality and the teachings. You've got to keep it separate. The reason is because, firstly, you don't know why that person did whatever they did. How do you know what is the intention of that person who did that? Whatever the person did. That's why the famous words of Christ is judge not others. He makes a sweeping statement. He says, judge not others, because you don't know the facts about that person. Even the spiritual terminologies like self-realization. What do you understand by self-realization? And yet people say, oh, that person is self-realized. This person is not self-realized. On what basis? This person is detached or not detached. How do you know? You don't even understand what detachment is properly. Secondly, when you are assessing someone else, it is colored by your own desires. You have certain desires, you have conditioning, and you view others through your conditioning, through the colored lens of your mind. As a result, you misread that person. What that person ate, what that person drank, you look at it from your colored lens. Thirdly, the external actions of a self-realized person is different from their internal state. The external actions of Christ were different from Prophet Muhammad. Muhammad's actions were different from Krishna's actions, different from Buddha's actions, Mahavir's actions. Their external actions are all different, but the internal state is the same. The state of self-realization is one. It is the same for all self-realized people. That's why in the Vedantic scriptures, they give the two popular examples of Krishna and Rama. Krishna is a self-realized soul. Rama is also a self-realized soul. And yet you see their personalities are so diametrically opposed to each other. Rama had one wife, Sita, and when she was captured and taken away, Rama went all the way to retrieve her, bring her back. Krishna had 16,008 wives. Huh? Some of you are wondering, how did he manage? One partner I can't manage. How did he manage 16,008? That is his greatness. See, what they have done is they've given an exaggerated number. It's just an exaggerated number to highlight that he is capable of managing so many minds. So many people he's able to manage. So Rama followed everything by the textbook. Krishna didn't follow anything by the textbook. He wrote his own textbook. You understand? So all the decisions that he took during the Mahabharata war were all questionable. But it all followed the principles of righteousness. But you got to really understand the principles, otherwise you will misinterpret it. So Krishna had a colorful personality. Rama had a very straight, serious personality. Now, why they are giving this difference is they're saying it doesn't matter what you do externally, what your personality, how different it is, but your internal state is the same. The internal state of Krishna is the same as internal state of Rama. So the caution is, do not judge a self-realized person by what that person does. You don't know, you won't understand it. Don't get into that. But what should you do? Follow the teachings. Whatever teachings make sense to you, whatever teachings help you solve your problems in life, pick that up, implement that. So do what a master says, not what a master does. Do what a teacher says, not what the teacher does. See, the father takes the daughter for a walk. And the father is taking the daughter for the walk. And then the father tells the daughter, hey, see, very young, a small one, small kid, says, listen, see, there is the green light comes. Until the green light comes, wait. Only when the green light comes, you cross the road. The daughter says, yes, yes, yes. And then takes the daughter and goes. And the next day, the daughter is seeing from the house, and the dad is walking. And the dad looks both sides. There's no traffic. It crosses. It's red. Still, the dad crosses. The daughter says, Dad, you crossed when it is red. You told me to cross only when it's green. Hey, don't worry what I did. You follow what I say. You cross only when it is green. You understand? So you can take that risk because you know how the traffic flows, but the daughter can't do that. The daughter has to follow that rule clearly. So you can't follow what the other person does. The other person could be objective, the other person could be detached, you could be attached. So you should follow the principles, keep to the principles. And of course, when you're in doubt, you check with a higher intellect what is the right course of action. And that's why you see in the spiritual field, because some of these great sages, they went to the Himalayas, they went to the forest for contemplation and reflection. Therefore everybody else says, oh, in the name of religion, oh, I've got to drop everything and go away. So they believe in the name of spirituality they have to leave everything. Why? Because they're mechanically following the example of these other masters. Now what these masters did was right for them because they were introverted. They used the Himalayas as a laboratory for research. They were not disturbed. They were not disturbed in the Himalayas. So they found that time and space to think and reflect. So today, what has happened is people who are not introverted, they go to Himalayas and all hotels and cafes, everything is opened up there. It's become a tourist spot. It's not a spiritual spot anymore. So don't follow what the other person does. Even in life, you don't follow what others are doing. Don't compare yourself to others, but you go by the general principles. Base your life on principles and stick to those principles. So Vedanta is about self-development, self-management, that introverted attitude. And that introverted attitude helps you to maintain that peace of mind. Because what you're doing ultimately is for what? All that you're doing is to be peaceful, is to be happy. An extroverted person is never happy, is all the time stressed, all the time agitated. So change that focus. So that's the effort of philosophy. That is the effort of spiritual knowledge. And ultimately, when you become introverted, what is 100% introversion? 100% introversion is self realization. When you're 100% introverted, you reach that state of perfection. You reach the state of the Atma. So all the way from solving your day-to-day problems right to human perfection is the path of introversion. Okay, let's stop here for today and we can continue with further concepts next week. Before we conclude, there's a question. Bhadra?
Bhaskarji,
Ah,
I have come across youngsters, as you
ah,
said in Vedanta, and Krishna gives uh, alternatives for people to use. But sometimes the young people do not have the intellect which has developed enough for them to realize what is right and what is wrong. So quite a few, sometimes Hindu youngsters are converted into other religions because they really haven't understood our Vedanta and our philosophy.
yes.
Yeah,
It,
it's just a remark. It's not a comment.
I understand. Yes, then that's why it is important to communicate the knowledge, and that's how you can capture the young people. So through knowledge is how you can connect with them. Mm. Rohit?
Hari Om Bhaskarji.
Hari Om, Rohit.
Just a question with regards to one of the statements that you shared last week, which is that we are the architects of our own fortune and misfortune.
Mm.
So I've got two questions with regards to that. The first is, where in the scriptures does that appear? Is it somewhere in one of the verses in the Bhagavad Gita or somewhere else? And the second question is, how does that relate to the fact that we get born in a family and then there is a support mechanism of the parents? As we grow, we've got teachers along the way. And then at some point, we continue to learn. So there is some sort of a support mechanism. So how can we understand that particular statement that we are the architects of our own fortune and misfortune?
It is there in the Bhagavad Gita. It is there in the Upanishads. It's peppered throughout in different verses and different mantras.
Okay.
Now, what the essence of that statement is nothing but the law of karma. That is the essence of the statement. So the law of karma is where you are determining the family. See, you're talking about the family. You determine your parents, you determine the family, you determine every aspect of your life, which is based on your own mind and intellect. When I say you determine, means your mind and intellect determines it, including death. The point of death is also determined by the mind and intellect. So, in that sense, you are the architect of your fortune or misfortune. Is your mind and intellect which is deciding everything. So, things don't happen by accident, things don't happen by luck. It is decided by your mind and intellect.
And how much of the people that we interact with influence that? Because as I said, our parents and then the teachers and our colleagues and everything like that.
See, you allow them to influence you in a certain way. They can't influence you directly. You almost allow them to influence you. For example, if a person is emotional, that person gets influenced by other emotional people. But if you are a rational person, if you think, if you question, you won't get influenced by emotional person.
Okay, so that's when the intellect has to come into play to kind of reflect and see what is relevant
To
and right
screen.
for you.
That's what the intellect filters. It screens all the unnecessary things and just allows the right material, the right stimuli to go into you.
Okay.
That's why it's very important to use the intellect to filter, to screen.
Great. Okay. Thank you very much, Bhaskarji.
So ultimately, we are allowing the world to control us. We are allowing the world to influence us because we are not being strong in the way we are interacting.
Okay, understood. Thank you.
Okay. Raj,
Hari Om, Bhaskarji.
Hari,
Thank you so much. Huge respects to the way you are leading this.
thank you.
We are fortunate to be here for the first time.
Okay.
Thank you. For the four yogas that you explained, I got a new dimension to it. I generally know, yes, Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, which is absolutely no doubt. But the fourth yoga, I thought it was Raja Yoga or Dhyana Yoga. People call it in different ways. But Hatha Yoga was a new learning for me. And, so is Hatha Yoga, whatever you describe, is it also containing all the other things, like, for example, doing meditation, doing physical asanas?
No,
No.
not meditation. See, meditation comes after the yogas. See, what has happened is some of these philosophers have come up with their own terminologies. Like Raja Yoga was popularized by Vivekananda. You understand? Dhyana Yoga is given in the Bhagavad Gita, but it's not a different type of yoga. See, in fact, every chapter in the Bhagavad Gita starts with yoga. Every chapter of the Bhagavad Gita is yoga. So yoga is used very liberally throughout the scriptures. Now, as far as the path of action is concerned, the spiritual path is concerned, there are three yogas primarily. The fourth one, like I said, it's not a independent path of its own. It's meant for you to get onto these three paths. If the person is not equipped at that time, is too much in inertia, too much lethargy, then in fact that lethargy is there in everyone. There's an element of lethargy in you. To that extent, you have to apply force. For a simple example, could be waking up early morning. You want to wake up early morning. You're trying, nothing. What do? You ask somebody to pull you out of bed, put the alarm, two alarms, three alarms, whatever. So you need to solve that problem through force. If you're not able to do it through reason, then you've got to apply force. That is Hatha Yoga. So in a way, you also implement that Hatha Yoga in your own life in different ways. Here, in a more spiritual context, they are applying it.
Perfect. The other three yogas are all almost, you regard all other three yogas equally, right? I mean, all of them are equally to the path.
No, equal means it depends upon the equipment. See, because Jnana Yoga is based on the intellect, subtlest equipment that takes you faster because you're using the subtlest equipment. Mind is grosser, body is the grossest. So in that sense, there's a hierarchy, but that is immaterial. It depends upon your personality makeup. So what is best for you, you've got to choose.
Perfect. Yeah.
That will take you the fastest. You shouldn't compare and say, no, others are doing Jnana Yoga. Let me also do more Jnana Yoga. It won't work if you are not designed for that.
I think I've realized that. Yeah, right. One of my guru, I also learned tabla from my guru in Chennai. He says Nada Yoga. He says if you are focused and practicing music, learning music, even that is a form of yoga, he says. Anyway, I understand. So, but three main paths for the spiritual realization. Thank you so much. Self-realization. Thank you. Thanks.
Okay, welcome. Shall I?
Hari Om, Guruji.
Hari Om.
Thank you so much. Guruji, a question on, you said we should have principles, but based on principle, we make certain beliefs in our growing up years because of the environment and things. And what if those beliefs are not right?
You got to change it. See,
we have to realize that those beliefs which we stick to strongly, thinking they are the principles,
yes.
which may not be right.
No,
And
see, how do you know it is right or wrong? You have to apply reason to it. Without applying reason, you don't know whether it's right or wrong. See, even the knowledge that I'm giving in the class, even the verses in the Bhagavad Gita that we're interpreting, there are people who follow that on faith. Oh, Krishna says it, therefore I'll do it. Upanishads say it, therefore I'll do it. But that's not the right way to do it. Yes, of course, whatever Krishna says, Upanishad says is right, but you've got to take it and you've got to examine it. What is the reasoning behind it? Why it is being said? How can I apply it in my life, etc.? Only then you will know whether that belief is right or wrong. So you can't follow blindly. You've got to question, you've got to reason it.
Thank you, Guruji.
Okay, welcome. All right, everyone. On that note, let's conclude and see you all next week. Hari Om. Bye for now.
Hari Om, Bhaskarji. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Guruji. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Thank you, Bhaskarji.
Welcome.
Bhaskarji.
Thank you, Bhaskarji. Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Thank you, Bhaskarji.